Hi, welcome to session. Today we discuss about the solvency or leverage ratio. Already we discussed about the what is meant by ratio, objectives, what are all the components, and profitability ratio. These are all things. Now we discuss about the solvency or leverage ratio. These ratio offer an insight into financial performance of a business. This ratio also deals with the long-term solvency position of the particular company. It is the honor, it is interest payment and principal payment commitments. This ratio included that debt equity ratio, interest coverage ratio, proprietary ratio and capital gearing ratio. These are all four ratios are included in the solvency ratio. Okay, we discuss by one. First one is debt equity ratio. This ratio is also known as external internal equity ratio. This ratio is the external and internal ratio. This ratio used to determine the efficiency of the firm long-term financial planning, because each and every company plan to implement in future based on that ratio is calculated solvency ratio. It is also the compare the stakes insiders as well as the outsiders. This ratio shows the relationship between the equity funding and the debt funding. Okay, debt equity ratio, we find out the first calculate total long term debt divided by shareholders fund, or otherwise we can calculate the another formula, external equities and internal equities. Okay, what are all the long term debts or external debts are? In that we calculate long term debt or external equities. What are the things means? First one is long term debt, debentures, it is a long term, term loans, long term loans, loan on mortgages, long term, loan from financial institutions, long term, other long term loan, redeemable preference share capital. These are all the long term debt or external equities. Okay, what are the shareholders fund and internal equities? First one is equity share capital and irredeemable preference share capital, capital reserves, retained earnings and any earmarked surplus like provision for contingencies. These are all the shareholders fund of that. Okay, in that high debt equity shows that the business is making more use of debt funds and thus it aggressive in its financing decision. High debt financing helps the business in generating high magnitude of earnings than it may have without resource to debt funding. The benefits shareholders if the business increases its earnings by more than its interest commitments. Okay, first we calculate the total long term debt. For example, debentures, long term loan, bank loans, debtors, general reserves and creditors, share capital, bills payable. These things, what are all the long term debts? Only debentures and long term is the long term debt. Okay, what are the shareholders fund? Already we discussed about the share capital and general reserve. These are all the shareholders funds. Okay, debt equity ratio, we can find out the total long term debt divided by shareholders fund. Total long term fund, how it is calculated? Already we discussed debentures, term loans, loan on mortgages, loan from financial institution, other long term loan or total long term. Shareholders fund, equity share capital, preference share capital, capital reserve, retained earnings, these are all the shareholders fund. So based on that, total long term debt divided by shareholders funds, we can find out the debt equity ratio. Thank you.